There's always a need to have a portable speaker around, but with so many choices, how do you pick? Choosing a well-known brand is a good start, as is checking out hands-on reviews like this one. I'm Erin from TechGadgetsCanada.com, and I had the opportunity to get hands-on with 3 of the most popular Sony portable speakers. From left to right, meet the Sony XB23, the larger XB43 in the middle, and the medium-sized XB33 on the end. In this review, I'll tell you all about them, what they can do, how they sound, and what sets them apart from each other. There are 3 speakers in this series, and each is a bit different from the other. Naturally, as they step up in size and power, they also step up in price too. These are often billed as party speakers thanks to their power, portability, and on the larger 2, built-in LED lighting effects. 2 larger ones, the Sony XB33 and the Sony XB43, can be used standing on their ends or lying on their sides. They have a flat front and flat base. The Sony XB23 is a cylinder. Each of these speakers has a rubber door in the back protecting other buttons and connectors. Not surprisingly, these speakers also step up in wattage and volume as they get bigger. Sony doesn't make finding the specs too easy for the 23 or the 33. I couldn't really find anything, but the XB43 sound specs are 2 16-watt speakers and 2 0.79-inch woofers, as well as 20mm tweeters. The Sony XB23, 33, and the full-sized 43 are all rated against water and dirt penetration. They have the rating of IP67, which means each is fully protected from dirt and dust and can withstand water and even salt water. The 2 larger speakers, as I said, have built-in lighting effects that will flash and pulse to the beat of what's playing. The XB33 has 2 behind-the-grille lights and LED color-changing banding around the edges. The 43 has 4 lights under the grille and the same LED color-changing banding. The XB23, though, has no lighting options. To get the most out of these speakers, you'll need not 1, but 2 apps. The Sony Music Center app will allow you to adjust some settings and check detailed battery levels, etc. I will say the app is slow, laggy, and kind of frustrating, and in my experience with it, it just doesn't work really well. Disappointingly, this is exactly the same story as when I first reviewed these speakers 3 and then 5 years ago. And this app is limited to the music and pairing multiple speakers only. If you want control over the lighting on the XB33 and 43, you will also need the Sony Fiestable app. You can customize the lighting effects and colors using the Fiestable app. There's a bunch of different color options, flashing effects, and more, which you can set or play with live. This is definitely fun. Even so, why Sony is splitting this function up is beyond me. I think both the lighting and the sound controls should be in one app, shouldn't they? Let's get down to sound. These speakers do sound fantastic. Not surprisingly, the power and overall audio quality does increase as you go up the line, with the XB43 the biggest, baddest, and most powerful of all. There is obviously a lot of bass here in the XB43, and you can feel it and see it in a table or a surface. I had this speaker camping with me and used it extensively outdoors too, and it was easily able to fill our area with sound. Each of these speakers sounds great with clear vocals, and the overall sound quality is well balanced. For me, only high fives here when it comes to overall audio quality of the Sony XB lineup. Though there are some differences between each speaker here, they do each have some common features. Sony's extra bass technology is the key. It's what they're named for and what the XB in the name stands for. Extra bass technology essentially lets you get more bass out of your music with what's called an electro bass booster to make the lower end bass lines more noticeable. If you're not into the rumble and thump, this feature can be turned off to suit your music or your mood. Live sound is another feature of the XB33 and 43 portable speakers. Activating this function is done with the touch of a button on top of the speakers. Now, live mode is apparently supposed to give you a more live and in-person sound. I wouldn't say it enhanced the sound in that way, but it definitely did change it, making the music less bass-heavy and maybe leaned it more towards the high end. For me personally, this setting wasn't hugely popular, but it is a noticeable difference. These speakers have a feature called Party Connect, which lets you connect and group multiple Sony speakers to the same music source. With compatible Sony devices, you can apparently connect up to 100 speakers in the chain. Now, why you'd want to do that is another story, but not only will the music play across devices, but the lights will match up too. I tried this out, connecting the 3 speakers I had to play with, and I couldn't get it to work. The app, like I said earlier, is finicky and the steps are not straightforward. Sony has had about 5 years to improve this interface since the last time I reviewed these speakers, and they haven't made any fixes as far as I can tell. It's actually worse, since in my last test a few years ago, at least I could get the Party Connect feature working, but today I can't get that or the stereo pairing to work. So if you're looking to manage multiple speakers or do a lot of control using the app, I would take a pass on these speakers. If you're fine just using simple Bluetooth and your phone's controls, you will probably be okay. Overall, there is a lot to love about these speakers. They do sound great and they're a breeze to set up and to use. If there are any downsides, it is 100% with Sony's software and firmware, which to me is clearly broken. Not only do you need 2 apps to control both the light and the sound settings, but the Party Connect feature and the stereo pairing just don't work well, if at all. So bottom line here, if you're looking for a single standalone speaker that sounds great, you have found it, and you can choose the size and the power you want. If you're hoping for a multi-room system or a stereo pair, you will want to consider other options like Sonos or JBL.